whatever you are focusing on, you're getting more in your life. If you have a lot of abundance in your life, then that only meant that you were able to keep your focus on things of abundance for a long enough time for it to manifest into your life. If you have a lot of challenges in your life, then that means that you've been having a lacking mentality and have focused all of your attention and awareness, or most of your attention and awareness, on things of a lacking nature, which created things of lack. The problem here is that a lot of us don't understand just how often it is that we unconsciously go into thoughts or into a behavior, into a reaction that is of a lacking nature. Right? So, for example, it could be me in the past. I would, or even to this day, sometimes I'll go into the analytics of my YouTube channel, for example, and I'll sit there and wait for something to happen. And then it's like, wait a minute. In this moment right now, I am feeding something of a lacking nature. And so more lacking things will start coming into my life. A lot of people don't understand that most of their thought patterns, most of their reactions and behaviors is that of comparing themselves to another person, of being analytical over this part of who they are, or focusing on the things in their life that are not of an abundant nature. Focusing on the things that is always lacking, focusing on that there's no this, there's no that, which is creating more of this. The more that you focus on the problem, the more of that problem you start getting. The more that you start focusing on the abundant things in your life and can keep your focus and awareness, the deep essence of who you are in that place, locked onto those things, the more your life slowly starts to change. The conditioning of our programs of that reaction, that behavior, or that thought initially comes from energy, feeling a lower sense of energy within us, and then not wanting to be with that energy. And so we start attaching our awareness of things around us as to be disconnected from it. It's just that we're not aware of it because you grow numb to your emotions that you have buried within yourself over the experiences of your life as time goes on. So you're not aware of the fact that in this moment right now, you're actually experiencing a lot of pain. Because these painful things that you are doing, for example, having your awareness and focus on something of a lacking nature, is only because you are experiencing a sense of lack within yourself, right? Something painful is going on within you, which means that you focus on painful things. And this is a tricky thing because you're not really supposed to focus on things of abundance if at the same time you're also feeling like you're not good enough, like you have buried so much, let's say, shame or guilt, for example, within your being that needs to move through your awareness before you can start focusing on the good things. Because we shouldn't pretend either that life is amazing if life is feeling really heavy in the moment. You know, we all like to pretend that things are fine when in a lot of cases we're not fine. We're actually dealing or going through some very heavy things and have been for the longest fucking time. And the evidence of that is just these things that we are focusing on and the reality that we have created for ourselves. If you have poor relationships, if you don't have the money, if you don't have excitement and joy within yourself, then that is because you have been distracting yourself, living life as an unconscious person, away from these things that are quite heavy that you have picked up in your life, that needs to move through your awareness before you can move back into a state where it becomes more natural to focus on things of an abundant nature. Because you can't just say, oh, now I'm gonna start focusing and placing my awareness on things of abundance and then start creating it. No, fuck no. That becomes impossible while your energetic state is so opposite of that abundance that you're trying to focus on. In a lot of cases, we need to surrender also to this energy within us. We need to tap into the flow of that energy without living in reactivity to it anymore. Because most of us are just living our life continuously in reactivity, reacting to our emotional state. And that later is reflected in all of these very challenging things that's going on internally within us. The thoughts, the depression, the different types of reactions, the judgments, the comparisons, the negative self-talk, the addictions, the chase for a relationship, abandoning ourselves in a million different ways. It's all a reflection of that energy. We cannot stay focused on the abundance. So stop trying. When you have all of these things going on internally within us, you need to move beyond that before you can stay focused on those things of abundance. Being focused on abundance is very natural to a lot of people, and it should be natural for you too. It should be an effortless kind of thing when you start feeling like abundance. It's just that we don't feel like abundance anymore. We don't. We feel so fucking disconnected from who we are. We feel so fucking disconnected from everything that's good in this life, really. Because in order to experience a good life, you need to be fully whole and complete within yourself first. And we're all so separated. And the separation is through all of these things that I just mentioned, all of these weird things that we're doing that's not good for us. That is the signs of that separation. I separated myself a little bit from this inadequacy. I separated myself a little bit from these emotions of shame, fear, anger, guilt. I separated myself from those natural parts of who I am because there's stories and beliefs attached to it. If I experience this, I'm not good enough as I am. If I experience this, I can't be accepted, and so on. That's where most of this stuff is stemming from. Your life is a reflection of what you place your awareness on. The more that you place it on abundance, the more abundance starts showing up into your life. But it becomes very hard when you don't feel like abundance. Because then everything is just turning you to focus on things of that challenging nature. Things of a lacking nature. As to be distracted from this energy that is still inside of you. But then there also comes a point in your life when you have learned to be more in allowance of what it is that you're feeling. That you also need to dare to step outside of the comfort zone. And what I mean by that is that eventually as you're working through your energy, that attachment to those things starts to get less. But in that moment where previously you fell back into an old pattern, into an old unconscious way of comparing or doing something like that, that you now have the awareness to understand that this is something that I used to do, and that now I can put myself into the realm of the unknown, where I don't know what's going to happen, which is when you don't move back into that pattern, whatever pattern it is for you, and instead think in this moment about what is the thing in my life right now that gives me joy and feeling like I feel abundant thinking about this thing or going for this thing. And it could be literally anything. It could be something that you love to do. It could be a person. It could be anything. In my case right now, in my past, I could focus on a few things that would make me kind of get stuck, kind of get into a procrastination state. But instead, now, I'm choosing to not think about those things and instead just go to the gym, spend time with my girlfriend, play with my dog, realize that those things are really abundant to me. And this is becoming easier and easier as I've also learned to let go of a lot of these energies that previously held me very, very hell-bent on focusing on things of a lacking nature. Because I know there's a lot of you out there right now that have tried to change your life, but you're just kind of falling back again. And that is because there's too much of this energy still present within you that is keeping you locked in on those habits, on those things of that nature that makes life very challenging. If you learn to tap into the emotional state again, you'll realize that over time, naturally and quite effortlessly, you'll start feeling these sensations again. If you allow it, if you move out of your own way, move out of the brain state of trying to do and get and achieve and accomplish or get this thing or do that thing, a lot of that is blocking the emotional state because the brain is a survival mechanism that is taking you away from your own emotional state. It's literally designed to do it. In a lot of cases when we have beliefs attached to our emotional states, because we can't always just be in this place where, a lot of this just comes back to the fear of abandonment, of not being accepted, loved, and so on, because it is so essential to us as we're growing up, and that is like a big program and function of the brain. So when you're feeling, let's say, a sensation of fear and you have a surrounding or environment that instilled a belief to you that if this is what you're experiencing, you're not loved or accepted, go to your room, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. They tell you things, tell you. That's how a lot of this is conditioned. Then you create a program within the brain as to be disconnected from this emotion because you don't have a way to move through out on the other side and remain whole and complete and integrated with this emotion anymore. You have to separate yourself from it. And the only way to do it, you can't run from it. You can only make it appear as if it's not there anymore. And the way in which the body and the mind does it is by creating a little thought pattern of always overthinking yourself, perhaps. Because as long as you're caught up in thoughts of overthinking all the time, then you slowly become unaware of the emotion that slowly grows numb to your awareness over time. And then you don't know that you're feeling this emotion anymore. And the only thing that you're left with is a very challenging part of your personality, a habit, an addiction. Because those are not natural. Those come from many of these experiences that we have where we buried something that we lost conscious awareness of. I'm on a massive tangent here, I feel like now. But this is very important to understand. What I'm trying to say with these things that I'm talking about right now is that this process that I'm talking about is supposed to be quite effortless and easy. And if that is not the case right now, then stop trying so hard. Because you need to focus on something else for a little bit. You need to focus on the allowance state. Being not holding on to the rock in the river and just fighting for dear life, but letting the hand go and floating with the emotions again. And that requires a certain surrender to the present moment of what is going on within your being, and not just simply living through thoughts and programs anymore, which can be very challenging if you're deeply programmed by your mind. It can be very, very challenging because you're so used to this mind. You are pure awareness. You're aware of this mind. You're not the mind. You're aware of this body. You're aware of all things here. You're part of all things here. And I've used this analogy, I think that's what it's called, before, where the mind is sort of like a cigarette that is just always floating in front of your mouth. And imagine that you have a cigarette addiction for perhaps 20 years, your mind, and it's always levitating right in front of your awareness. And now you have to stop using the cigarette. You have to stop using the mind a little bit. It's extremely challenging for someone that has been using and been addicted to their mind their entire life to let go of it a little bit. And then, as it is always right here in front of your awareness, so easily accessible at all times. Like if someone stops smoking, for example, they throw the cigarettes out. But this is not an option with the mind. The mind is always here. You can always go to the thought pattern. You can always go to the reaction. You can always start chasing again. You can always do all of these things that is keeping you separate from your emotions. Which is why it gets hard. Because it's just so easily accessible. It's just always here. You can always choose to go deeper into a program or go deeper into your heart and your emotion, your present moment of things. What you focus on, you get more of. What you focus on in a lot of cases is hijacked unconsciously by your brain, and you can't control it at this point because it's controlling you. So you gotta surrender to the emotions so that those controlling things of your mind can start to dissolve a little bit, because they are programmed by the emotions. If there is no emotion to distract from anymore, there's no program taking place anymore. You're simply left authentically and wholly and completely as who you are, operating from the emotional state and not from a program. Shyness, insecurity, and not feeling confident is also just a rejection of self. Those things are natural to you. You're not supposed to have those things. It's only because you got lost in a program over time as you suppressed and rejected more of yourself. The more that you focus on abundance, the more of it you get. And that is supposed to be quite effortless and happen quite naturally for you. So if you want to learn more about how to do this, check out my Patreon, where I have my community and my courses and everything that you need to know to learn how to do this. I look forward to seeing you there and talking to you. And in the meantime, all the best, my friend. And yeah, bye.